discotheque. Do you remember those times on the northern beaches? We're going to take you back and talk about the northern beaches hotspots in the 80s and 90s. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Cleo with
Hello.
ya. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm happy to go down the old road, the old lineup outside the club.
Down memory lane. What is it that brings back those smiles when you hear about those days when you were sort of in the late teens, going out, staying out late? Um, oh my God, stuff that we got up to at those years. To start us off, can you rattle some of the night spots in the 80s and 90s? Can you rattle them off? Let's go.
All right. My number one favorite was the Rock Lily at Mona Vale. Yes.
Rock Lily.
And yeah, good old fashioned discotheque. Number two would have been Figure 5 in DY, and then next to that was Cartoons.
Cartoons.
I was a bit too young to go there, but I still went there.
What was in Narrabeen? It was the Sands. It was called something else.
The Antler, was that the Antler in the 80s? I think
Could
it's
have
called
been.
the Antler. Or it had a J in it.
OPs in Manly.
Oh, yes. And what about Cerrutis in Manly, across from In Situ?
Cerrutis was, that was
was dope. And it was black. Like, everything inside was so dark. You couldn't see anyone.
Hey, what happened to all the bouncers? They were so cool.
They probably own gyms now.
I reckon they are. But the bouncers, do you remember the bouncers? Like, the girls loved the bouncers.
Oh, there was this one bouncer I remember when Shaw Club was U-Turn, you know how it had like 10 different name changes in Manly?
Yeah.
There was this one bouncer, and he also worked at Avalon RSL, and all the girls would always just fully, like, they'd only line up just to have a bit of a chat and moved on by him up those stairs.
Geez, those bouncers must have been dripping. Back sausage sizzle, 3 a.m. Yes, you used to walk outside of the venue and there'd be the sausage sizzle. What about the kebab shop in DY?
Oh my God! What you mean, the old office? Our old office?
No, opposite the Skew Weather United
Neffy's.
service. Which one?
It was Neffy's or Nessie's. It had a yeah.
I think that was Neffy's where the old office was, but further up, where the service station was, there was the Caravan of Courage.
That was just the van.
The caravan was there, and I remember people used to queue up on Pittwater Road, like they'd be standing on the main road in a queue, waiting for their kebabs. I would eat 3 hot dogs and 2 kebabs.
Oh my God, disgusting. Well, that was probably after $1 drinks on a Thursday night at the Jet Club.
Jet Club! So for people that don't know, we used to have the Jet Club, which was in DY Hotel. Now, DY Hotel served responsibly in plastic glasses, a spirited drink,
bourbon and vodka and lemonade.
Whatever you want for $1.
$1.
$1. And you could go up and say, could I have 20? And they would say, no problems. And you'd be carrying them like that to all your friends. What's Lisa saying? Taxis would have had the changeover at 3 a.m. Remember that?
Oh, the waiting to get home. It was brutal.
We used to get stuck. So and because what happens is the hour before and the hour afterwards, they were off the beaches because they were changing over out west somewhere. And we had a real hard time getting a taxi. They wouldn't take your fare in the city if they were close to 2 o'clock in the morning. Metropolis, Berry Street, North Sydney.
Oh my God, yes. loved Berry Street. North Sydney was, because we would have to then get home to Maroonavale, so it was a really like a big night. If you were going to plan to go to anywhere past Manly, it would have been a huge, prep time. How you're going to get home, what you're going to do, and then other times you just go anyway and just see what happens.
And so many people never wanted to take the bus. It's the weirdest thing. It's different to our beeline bus now, which would be taking a lot of people home at night. But back then, it was, I don't know, it was not regular. The service wasn't running. I don't know, but it was never an option.
The L90 used to run, but it stopped at a certain time, and it's only limited stops. I also remember the stories of that person that goes, "Nah, I'm gonna walk home." So it might have taken them 3 hours, and they'd walk home from wherever it was to tell the story the next day.
Oh, there'd been many a times I walked home from Manly to Coleroy.
Wow,
Yeah, many a times. And also, I know a couple of people that did it from the city. Like just nuts. Like people
crazy.
just, it's nuts. But, even if you did go in the bus, there used to be rackets in the bus. There used to be like
Punch
was
on.
yeah, everyone's got a camera these days and time. I think it's a lot safer these days than it was back then. What's Lisa saying here?
And we could buy whole shakers of illusions on Midori Illusions. Yes, Lise. No one's responsible service of alcohol.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Look, to give an idea of how times have changed, I went on a real estate function the other day in Queensland, and we were in the casino, and it was a Sunday night at 9 o'clock, and I asked for a shot, and they said can't do shots, can't do shots, and I was like, oh okay, can I have, because it was whiskey, and I said, oh, can I have the whiskey on ice then? And they said, yes, we can do that. And I said, can I have two of those? They said, yes, you can. Who's the other one for? And I was like, the guy standing next to me, okay. And then the guy standing next to me, Tate, goes, oh, can you make those doubles? And I said, can you make those doubles? And they said, I have to check with my manager. And then they went over the manager, Scotch, went over the manager, and the manager goes, she said, we can do them as doubles, providing they're on ice, but you can't drink it all at once.
we're going to watch you sip it.
Yep. They said, we're going to watch you sip it. And I was like, this is sort of getting creepy. And she said, and we have thrown people out because they've sipped their double drinks fast. I'm thinking,
What?
man, going back to the dollar drinks at the Jet Club, how it's changed.
So
How it's
much.
changed. I feel bad for the kids. I got to admit, I got an 18-year-old and a 26-year-old. I feel bad. I feel bad that they didn't get the discotheque. They didn't get the nightclubs like we got them. They didn't get the raves.
No, I mean, the raves you could kind of do without, but the discotheque is definitely a rite of passage. I mean, that's what they made cruises for. You could still probably go to Europe, like, I don't know, Amsterdam or somewhere where you can experience the discotheque, like a full Euro trip. But no, we had them here on the beaches. That was so much fun. And we also had, which we could probably do another segment on that, which I love the band scene and the music scene where, you go to the pub, you get your, upcoming, Silverchair or whatever, and you're like, I was there. But yeah, no, the club scene, Figure Five and Cartoons is a unit block now. That's where they were, upstairs. They had that dodgy staircase at the back of Figure Five. Like, if there was ever a fire, no one was coming out alive. Like,
Nah,
it was,
nah. It
yeah.
was, and that was where Eagle Music was on the corner.
Yeah, that's right. Supre used to be down below as well. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah, and
showing
the
our age.
RTA was downstairs. The RMS.
Yes, at one point it was. That's right. People.
Everyone's smoking.
Yes. Yes, that was
Smoke
one thing.
wherever you want. Drink wherever you want. It was fine. It was fine. It was still safe. I
It was
reckon.
safe. I think like all the parks as well, all the adjoining parks to venues, that's where people would have their pre-drinks. It wasn't in their parents' fancy penthouse overlooking Manly.
Yeah,
You picked a park and that was your pre-drink venue.
you'd preload with your. I used to preload with spumante
Ugh.
because it was at that time it was 750 ml. It was like 8 or 10% alcohol, and it was like $2 a bottle.
Yeah, so it's a cheap fun.
So you'd preload with that, and then when you were out, that's when you'd sort of had to order your drinks one by one, sort of, yeah, casually. Unless you're a dollar drinks jet club.
Oh my gosh, that floor was so sticky. You could fall and you would never get up again.
Look, and also lining up to get into a club, it was a thing. Like people, if you knew someone at the door, or if you could line, people would happily line up for an hour or two to get into a venue. I don't think people put up with that anymore.
No
Like,
way, no way. No, it was like a social status thing. Like if you're, you didn't have to line up, or how far, you were in the line, or who was there, and it was a social thing being in that line as well, or not being in that line. I remember when Home nightclub first opened up in Darling Harbour, and that line was like huge. It was gigantic, and we had friends, and I remember she had this fluffy, because it was winter, one of the nights, and this huge fluffy boa, and she was like magnificent up at the front, and people were chatting with her, and we just were able to walk up to her and then just go straight in. It was like being in a movie.
it's
Anyway.
so it's changed so much. And do you know what else? I feel like I get that the connectivity is great, and don't get me wrong, we're using it right now. I get the benefits, but when you were in a nightclub in the 90s or the 80s, you were present,
Yeah, no phones, no camera, no evidence.
right? Right? So if everyone was talking, everyone was socializing, no one had their head down in their palm. Everyone was communicating, and now I just feel that more than half of the room would be taking selfies or checking on their messages. I get that that's cool. They're still connected. They're still talking to other people in other areas. But one thing I did find. With my kids, like my eldest daughter's 26, is that it made them hop to different places all the time for FOMO. So they would spend an hour here, an hour there, an hour here, an hour there. So they may go to 3, 4, 5 different places in a night because they know where everyone is. They're communicating heavily with them. Whereas back in those days, you put your ass in a nightclub, you didn't leave till the end of the night.
And what about that feeling, like if you liked a guy or a girl and maybe they would turn up and they would be there, like that whole mystery of, seeing that person that you've gone out to, possibly, get with, or whatever we used to say back then. Like
Get with, get
yeah,
with. And then your friend would be egging you on, or you would be egging your friend on, going, go talk to them, go talk to them. And they're like, no, no, no. It's like face the back, other side. And then on the dance floor.
100%. There was no tagging them and finding out where they were. It was all, the mystery. So good. I don't know. I prefer our day, to be honest. I do like the whole health aspect of not going out as much and drinking and partying and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, there were definitely good bits about it that I think they're missing out.
Yeah, anyway, it just goes to show it's a 10 minute it's a 10 minute show, and everyone's gone. We've gone nuts. We're at 14 minutes. We can't stop talking about it. Darren's talking about preloading. Darren, how are you, you legend? Ross is talking about he met his wife at Berry Street. You know what? A lot of good times and a lot of good marriages were built on it. We are going around, dance like no one's watching. Shit, yeah. Shit, yeah. Anyway, guys, that is a discotheque on the northern beaches. Stepping back in time a little bit, I think the emotions that are there with everyone when we talk about it, and our kids are watching it, going, "Yeah, nah, I
What are
think
they
we
on
understand
about?
it. Yeah, talk me shit.
Have
That's
a
a
good
show.
week. Bye.
This was
Weekend.
this was your idea, and you nailed it. Thank you so
Thanks.
much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the
Bye.
show.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, Cleo.